43 missing assignments. I have not mastered one single standard of social studies. George Washington was the first to reach the moon. All hail the Dark Knight.
Don't let this happen to you, future knights of social studies. That right there, that was Bobby. The Dark Knight has brainwashed him and made him very irresponsible. And to put it nicely, he's not the brightest star in the sky. Or he's one fry short of a Happy Meal. Or, never mind. You get the idea. Welcome to Social Studies in a Snap. Today we will be talking about North American colonies, and specifically the 13 English colonies from, you guessed it, England. To help us learn more about the 13 colonies, I'm using my time travel lanyard to take us back to the first permanent English settlement, Jamestown. Whoa! Here in Jamestown, I'll interview the leader of the colony. He was the one that said, if you don't work, you don't eat. He trained his people to farm and work so that they would actually have food to eat. His strength of character and determination overcame many problems, including the harsh weather, the lack of water and the living conditions, living in the wilderness with people who didn't want to work. Not to mention American Indian attacks from the Powhatans. Future Knights of Social Studies, let me introduce you to John Smith. Mr. Smith, could you tell us about some of the causes and some of the effects from colonizing this new world?
God, gold, and glory. You've already learned that's what explorers wanted, and with a heavy emphasis on the gold and riches for the countries and companies that paid for these expeditions. And while there were English explorers such as Henry Hudson that never did find the Northwest Passage to Asia, he and other English settlers did find and claim what became British North America, which is better known as the 13 Colonies.
Different English colonists came for different reasons to colonize the New World. Some colonists came for religious freedom, while many others came for economic reasons, such as finding gold, owning land, or a better opportunity than they had in England. In fact, one of my more famous quotes is, "Here, every man may be master and owner of his own labor and land, and if he has nothing but his hands, he may still grow rich."
Countries and companies had different causes for wanting to set up these colonies. They were all about the wealth that could be gained on their investment. So they wanted their colonists to be just like the Spanish and gather valuable minerals, such as gold. Even after Jamestown colonists found that there was only iron pyrite, otherwise known as fool's gold, the company could still use the land and its resources to gain wealth. For example, the Jamestown colony made a great deal of wealth through growing tobacco. It was our best cash crop, or a crop that's grown to be sold for profit.
Some of the effects of colonization include what happened to the American Indians. Native populations dropped drastically in the Americas. Estimates are around 80% of the population, from somewhere around 50 million to only around 8 million. Also, land disputes and battles eventually came because of the land that the Europeans claimed from the indigenous people.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Time out. Wait just a minute here. Are you trying to tell me that you English colonists just came in and claimed this land that had belonged to American Indians for hundreds, if not thousands of years before? I bet they have a different perspective of how wonderful it was that you English settlers came.
Well, don't blame us. It was the Spanish that started it.
Really? That's the best you can do?
Anyway, another effect of colonization was the start of new trading opportunities. It started the trade between American Indians and colonists in some areas, and more importantly, it started the triangular trade. The early days of the American economy were filled with trade routes stretching across the Atlantic in seemingly all directions. As with trade between European countries, the goods coming into and out of America tended to be part of a pattern. The money paid for one set of goods was used to pay for another set of goods, and so on. Also at this time, goods were traded for each other in a barter system. In early American settlement, goods came from two main sources, England and Africa. This came to be known as the triangular trade.
A typical shipment of goods from Great Britain could consist of beads, cloth, hardware, rum, salt, or weapons. Mostly you'll notice that they would consist of manufactured or produced goods. That shipment would then go to Africa, where the goods would be traded for people who were enslaved. A ship leaving Africa for America would contain hundreds of enslaved people, tightly packed in horrific conditions, for the journey to their new home. Once in America, the ship would unload the slaves and take on any or all of the molasses, rum, sugar, or tobacco that was produced in the Americas, and then head back to Great Britain, completing the triangle.
Ships coming to America sailed straight to ports along the eastern seaboard, although some stopped in the Caribbean or Brazil, where large slave plantations were. The number of Africans shipped as slaves to America has been conservatively estimated at 10 million. That doesn't even include the thousands who died along the way. Some estimates have concluded that 15 to 25 out of every 100 Africans died on these voyages across the Atlantic. The practice of slavery had a history of hundreds of years. It was made illegal in America in 1807, although it continued in small part for many years after that. Well, I had better be getting back to work. After all, if you don't work, you don't eat. That's my motto around here.
Well, thank you for that information, no matter how depressing it is. Psst. By the way, John, a helpful tip from the future: you might want to be careful around gunpowder. It's kinda dangerous. There you have it, future Knights of Social Studies. Get it? Got it? Good. Until next time, adios.